For Lotus to kick off. Heretics on their defensive side and on the back foot, having lost their pick 13-11, Tom. This is a map that I think in everyone's mind is going to go the way of Geng. A big challenge for Heretics to recover this series now.
Let's put it this way. You go back to Shanghai, you go back to the inform Heretics. They were 2-1 up. They came into this map and you go, okay, they got the momentum in their favor. They lost 13-4. So now they don't have the momentum in their favor. It's going to be that little bit more difficult. Now they knew what they would be coming up against. Obviously, although they've gone back to sort of like the standardized comp, the roles have changed massively. That was what we saw when they played it out last time, and it was still very labored versus FPX. Now, I agree with what Neozinho said. I think FPX are heavily underrated, but if you're scraping through a game versus them, what are the chances you beat Geng?
Exactly, yeah. FPX played a fantastic game. We were impressed by them, but a lot more to be desired from Heretics if they're going to make this one competitive. Opening it up, Munchkin's down to 22 and Karen's down to 0. Control for Heretics towards Rubble and mass rotations towards this C site. There's already 2 players sat in waiting. It's Benji Fishy and it's Rien's, but they've been pushed back by that orb.
Tech's just going to look to try and play through it. Always fearsome in these pistols. They're doubling up. They're expecting it. They're waiting for him, and that works out for them. No trades to be had, and Rien's dominating. A good start for him with the pistol under the belts of Heretics.
Last time around, Heretics started on the attack side, so a little bit of a different scenario. But they went 3-0 up, Tom, and they lost 13-4. It was a streak from Geng, and they did not let go of those reins once they got their hands on them. For now, well, it starts out a similar way. Pistol round to Heretics. The second, well, should be a nice light buy from Geng. I'd be surprised if they go crazy and force it. And yeah, we're seeing just some classics and some sheriffs.
Correct me if I'm wrong as well, it was both pistols in the last map going the way of Geng. They were buying in with the 4 rifles as well, so it seems like both teams have a similar philosophy, although Guardians versus Bulldogs. But obviously, again, it means you can only really afford to lose one player. Miniboo's going to try and get aggressive, earn up as many orbs as he can towards those showstoppers. But that's the thing, an incredibly close map, a map that I think that you look at for the side of Heretics and go, okay, they probably could have taken that without some of the crazy plays that we had from either side. But with a pistol or 2 under their belt, could be a very different story. The fact is, though, it is a tougher map and a better map for the side of Geng. Already, this has been the sort of change. Like, Woot was previously on that initiator, swapping with Boo, and now he's playing that more aggressive war, which at times I don't necessarily mind, but I don't think he quite, I guess, did it as well as Boo did prior. But Boo did incredibly well on the fade, so it's kind of like a much of a muchness.
Yeah, we definitely saw the Rubble control struggle, where when Boo's in play, that's sort of his staple, and the way he locks that down round after round. Boo, well, he's locking down control over Rubble one way or another. Got himself a long-range kill with the Bulldog.
They have 20 seconds.
Hold on to the control with 20 seconds left. Yeah, Geng have no choice now but to go sprinting into the site.
They've got to run it down. Now, luckily, there is only one man actually within the site. If they can isolate that duel, they'd have a chance. A spam from Woot is perfect, but they just have to die now. They just have to die. They don't even have time to actually plant this one. They're just going down with something. This is very, very peculiar and might absolutely destroy.
Yeah, they didn't even pick up the weapon.
Try their money. I guess they did a little bit of extra damage, and they're still going to be able to get in with the light shields, but yeah, definitely one where I think they let that clock go down just a little bit too low, and because of that, there are going to be some pieces missing. Like, Texture can't afford himself a Boombot because of that, and can't buy up with the heavy shields either, which versus some of the guns that are on the other side, that could be a fairly big problem.
I think a lot of that round, the philosophy was just to figure out how Heretics are set up and get a feel for how those rotations come into play, but like you said, they just ran that for a little bit too long, and then the clock became their biggest enemy. We're going to see a 2-0 lead for Heretics. Rifles in. Benji Fishy down to 11 HP to start this one off. Geng having that full buy. It seems to be that they're set up for the B split. Last time, they broke the alarm bot right off rip, and there was a one-player rotation in, but not much contact outside of that. I think they're going to try the same here with the turret down, make noise on A, and then go through that broken door.
Oh, the timing of the fight. Both players have the information, but with control lost, fighting for this one definitely has a gamble about it. It's seeming like they may end up just going for the retake here on the Heretics side, but with the weaker weaponry, that's definitely not going to be easy.
Yeah, this is Gen G playing off the info they got in the last round. It may not have been an ideal conclusion, but in the early round, they at least felt it out in a way that gets the spike on the ground, gets their opponents on the back foot. Like you said, weaker weapons on the retake, already damage done to players like Benji. It's not going to be easy. There's still so much utility for Gen G. They didn't expend much. Nade good for Miniboo, though. That keeps it competitive. Rienz does well to trade out, but now the pressure's on because Meteor's hitting everything again. Rienz can't even get out of here. He's stuck in the corner. He's being watched on the way back, and it's Meteor staring him down. That man doesn't miss a shot. Another Gen G 4K and a round on the board for the attackers.
Yeah, I think either we're going to have to start counting his 4Ks before he gets another ace, just to see if he can actually catch up, because he's already had a few in this series, or we just have to combine the statistics and make one much bigger number, which, because everyone loves big numbers. Either way, it is going to be a buyback. A little bit of extra damage done, so it's not necessarily the end of the world for Heretics, but with the blip that happened in round number 2, maybe would have hoped for a little bit more. Nonetheless, the only ultimate that's relatively close is Meteor. Miniboo's already dead.
Again, we talk about that robo control. It was a struggle for Team Heretics. Okay, 2 HP on Lakia, and he's gone to another spam. That's an unlucky start. But yeah, the robo control hasn't been fantastic, although those spams do recover some of the advantage. Still sitting towards Gen G, though. It's a big map. Those rotations, not as easy when you've only got 4 players.
Yeah, they're taking their time. Boo holding the tiniest of pixel angles. I can tell you for free that my eyesight isn't that good, but somehow he's able to see absolutely everything. Fallen back off of the nade, paranoia through, but there really isn't much support. It's taken a long time. I don't think they believe this was the real push. It means that the IGL is having to try and hold the line on his own, and it isn't going to go well. Benji, Rienz, going to have to full retake this one. Benji actually going in a little bit early, and I think he's been spotted.
He has, and you see the ping go down from Munchkin. He knows exactly what's going on. Steps out of the way. Oh, but Benji's aware. He knows there could be a player here. It's all down to timing. Which way is he going to be looking when the swing comes through, and it's the right way. 2 versus 2. Kept competitive. Turret goes down for the info. Turret goes down indeed right after. That spike taking away. They've decided to play the long game. Reposition up to heaven. Take it together. The steps will be heard now, though. And the headshot angle from Karen. Perfect. Meteor, the man who's been finding 4Ks in so many rounds. He's only got 1 kill between him. And that lead taken out of Heretics' hands. The defuse needed all the way, and Meteor sticking close by. 2-2. Now tying it up early on. Gen G won't let Heretics have much of a lead.
No, and a safe pair of hands. And you can already tell with the way that this map plays out, you have high expectations of late rotations in rounds, because you can very easily split back through the broken door and even make a run all the way back to the C site without too much information being there for Heretics. So they, even though there was a nade put through, there was smokes, there was so much control clearly being fought for by the side of Gen G, the 2 players on B and C didn't move. So it came down to just, okay, can Boo do a lot of damage? The combo's perfect, but it's the worst player to catch. Just able to TP out of there before the real damage can be done. And again, Miniboo is already knocking on heaven's door.
The Prowler didn't clear it, but Texture did. Woot not going to be happy with that one. He thought he'd managed to thread the needle. He found out the hard way that he didn't. Like you said, Miniboo, 2 HP. The swing from Boo into heavy traffic, only spotted by the 1 player. Flank up by Rienz. If they can slow them down and send them in the other direction, Rienz could have some serious value to find, but it's being watched this whole time. Karen's been staring at it. And well, he got a good sight on that bullet coming straight for his head. Nice clean equalization, but they're pushing up, and 2 HP. Miniboo still gets 1.
He's made things a little bit more costly. We know what they can do with the Sheriffs, and they're probably a little bit wary of their flank at the moment. May want to try and take some extra ground away, and Boo, well, he's got no choice but to fall in, but the utility is perfect. Pinged up, tagged up, caught in position, and it was all too easy for Lakia. Now 1 man standing in the form of Rienz. As I said, he had a quieter first map, but we know what this guy can do, especially if you give him fights. But look at the position of Texture. He's coming up behind him. I think this will be the freest kill ever. Meteor even goes for a swing just to make sure that if there was any contact, there was no way that his teammate doesn't get that kill.
Few big rounds from Meteor, and we've got a lockdown online for Gen G. But take a look at Heretics when we get it on the screen. They've got a little bit to work with. A Viper's Pit, a Showstopper, a Nightfall. A lot on that defensive side to react around and potentially turn and tip the scales in their favor. But everybody on Gen G who hasn't got an ult is just one away. Yeah. This is going to be a chaotic round or two ahead of us. And whoever comes ahead in these may well have the wind in their sails.
Yeah, it's the time for our observers to crack their fingers, wipe the sweat off their brow, get ready for all of those ults being put into play at once. But yeah, I don't mind the early pause from Heretics because, again, they've had a couple of opportunities here and there, but the second you allow Gen G to start steaming into the lead, likes of Meteor just performing to that high standard. He was incredible on the Yoru, but it really does just show the versatility of him as a player. And it's something that brings a lot of value because you look across a lot of maps, and I feel like Gen G, they have a more standardized comp pool than a lot of other teams. I think Breeze in the past was their sort of exception to that. But it's just because they play off of everything so well. They have so much depth in individual skill, but also in their synergy. And even just look at some of the late round utility. This is why I love players like Lakia that, again, I think was overlooked for quite a while getting back into the tier 1. It's just how solid all of that utility is that the fights that he takes are almost risk-free because the player is already dead.
That's hilarious as well. Yeah, you mentioned in the last one about Meteor on the Duelist, and you're talking here about his versatility. The guy's currently got more kills than the rest of the team added together. And Texture, slow to start.
Won't last long.
But once someone like Texture's activated, this is going to be a completely different game. 1 kill for him, and it will be the Showstopper online. Like we said, everybody on that attacking side either has the ult or is just 1 away. And so fighting for the orb early often makes sense. Texture's trying to get the orb with a kill. Doesn't quite catch Benji, and the orb goes to Munchkin in the end. Viper's Pit, Lockdown, and Nightfall for the attack.
I felt like that was almost a comment of, okay, we're going to give the orb over to Munchkin. He's like, no, I'll get my own orb. No worries, yeah. I think you can stop me, but not the case. Boo's about to come under some pressure. Util will clear everything but the box. Paranoia set up, and in fact, the Lockdown put into play. Don't know if they're going to be able to challenge off this. May want to try and push more aggressively on C, see if they can spam it out, but instead it looks like they're just going to have to give this one up. The defense themselves have a lot of ultimates. Nightfall, Showstopper available, even a counter pit could be in play, and in fact they've used the Showstopper immediately, just trying to catch in case he was close on the pit. Might have been better to use the Nightfall first, but I guess the success was there anyway.
And then they've sprayed Miniboo after the Showstopper through with an Odin, and the Viper's Pit activated at an inopportune time. Rienz pops his ult and gets shot in the head, and now it's all left onto a man decaying inside a pit. Just like the chances of Heretics in this series as round after round goes to Gen G. 4-2 in the lead now. That's 4 in a row. And a little bit of deja vu for the Heretics squad as the streak continues.
Yeah, they look so good. Again, look at how many ultimates have just been used for the side of the defense just to try and get this round into competition. I don't mind the Showstopper being used just to try and catch the Viper, like exiting. You're going to fall back immediately just to try and get the integrity of the pit and make sure they have to run through it, but it doesn't connect, and then it's just all falling apart again. Karen, we've seen this fight so many times, but every time there just seems to be a response. Nice work from Boom Woot, though. They're making this one competitive. Karen, we know the performances this guy can have, has some support from Meteor, who has plenty of weaponry to choose from, and on the other side, they haven't found anything yet, just those pistols, and that's going to be their undoing.
Of course, it's Meteor yet again finding these kills, pulling the round back into contention, getting themselves a plant alongside it. Benji now up against 2 with a Marshall on the retake. Really not the weapon that you want for this. And they're both focused on the Heaven play. With an alarm bot covering the walk down below, there is no element of surprise to be found for Benji Fishy. The turret now watches the angle they expect him to come from, and Meteor is going to swing on that turret's contact. For Benji, retrieving a rifle seems to be the best option for him. He has a choice to save it or to commit. There's a nano waiting for him on the door. He's going to lose a lot of his HP and still has to take down 2 players in a timely fashion. The turret now looking to do its own damage and get his own little assist in. 8 bullets, and none of them will at least land the kill shot. Sure, Karen's on 21 HP, but Geng are on 5 rounds.
It's just the discipline. Just to hold even when you've lost a few players, like nobody overextending of the remaining 2. And then just the way they played that post-plant. They knew that they were ready with that advantage. Didn't need to give Benji Fishy anything. If he has a Sheriff, we already know that he could have turned the round on his head, but just nobody faces him. Nobody gives him an angle that he can fight. Had the turret for contact, the smoke, so he had to run through it. Doesn't know what's on the other side. And then even had the nanos ready in case he tried to run through either angle. It was a perfect post-plant that gave him no opportunity. Now, though, Odin brought into play. Information gone, and Showstopper used as well.
Well, they know exactly where that Odin is, but they won't be able to root him out of position. Riens does well to defend him, but with the door open, Boo loses his life. 4 versus 4. Boo's done a little bit of damage, tickled up some of these guys. Meteor, though, sneaking his way right through, up close. Does Benji suspect it? It looks like it. He has an idea, and he strikes just in time, just before Lakia was ready to swing and trade.
Yeah, I think also Lakia just had a little bit of hesitation holding the spike. If he's unable to get that kill, he's going to wait for his team. Minibu as well, this aggression. With the loss of Meteor, it means that the alarm bot was offline, so he can get at this flank. It's not expected at all. Munchkin walking backwards into the angle, but Minibu's looking for a little bit more. Still only going to be the 1, but with the lockdown in play, they're both going to have to be forced completely out of the site. Lakia is the only one that can really hope to try and do any damage on the way in, and the counter spam is better.
Yeah, Karen, 1 versus 3, and the spike already being diffused. Catches one on the side angle, but needs to get on that diffuser immediately, and Riens buys enough time. The kill locking in the round, now 3 for Heretics, and at least we won't see a complete repeat of what happened last time. They've broken the streak of 5 here and now. And look, Geng, they're not in a super healthy economic position. A lot of the time you'll see 5 rounds in a row, and a team can buy 2 or 3 times in a row. But remember how many players they lost in just the last, and there's been damage across the board in most rounds.
Yeah, a good round, a solid one for them to win, as you said. The damage is definitely going to make things that little bit easier. We've also seen a lot of ultimates expended by both sides, like the Showstopper dissipating as well. Minibu immediately forced off the angle. We haven't seen a mass amount of fight for this C site. A lot of the time, the control on A being a much bigger part of the game plan. I thought for a moment Munchkin was going to find that. Riens, though, clearly feeling confident in that fight, knowing there was spam going elsewhere, just went running up and gets the opener for his team.
5 versus 4. Minibu no shields on the site, but he's got Woos with him to help him out in these duels. Doors being opened and closed a number of times. It just keeps spinning around. See if Heretics get out of their way on the B site. There's still 2 stacked up ready, and the spray from Boo is absolutely sublime. Gorgeous stuff. 4 versus 2. And there you go. Meteor, although he finds the 1, there's just too many bodies swinging into play.
5-4. They've found their footing. A decent couple of rounds, and as you mentioned, that economy now starts to become a bit of an issue. I think they might still be able to scrape a by with some low shields, or maybe just even juggling rifles around. Maybe there'll be 1 player here or there that isn't going to be able to get a gun. The question, though, will be, did Geng want to gamble it all here? And honestly, with the ultimates that they have online, I think the answer should be yes. You're 1-1 away from a lockdown. Nightfall available. Okay, the other 2 are a little bit further away, but these are ults that can definitely pad the gap. The thing is, though, Heretics aren't just going to sit back. In fact, I was about to say Minibu's doing the opposite. He went running initially, but after not seeing anything, they're going to fall back to try and stack up some control on B. Maybe a bit worried that if they've gone light, they've gone for SMGs, this might be the spot that they hit.
Benji even considering adding a bit more to that defense. Dodge the turret to start with, trying to creep their way around Mound. There's no way to cross that, but maybe we'll see. No, I was thinking we'd see a smoke go down. The idea perhaps being that they'd be wide enough by the time the turret sees any of those players that someone would swing out just to check. Is it one guy far away? Is it? And bang, you take his head clean off. Geng, though, go back in the other direction now, and they have successfully dragged rotations. C-site now double stacked up like we saw before, and that leaves A a little bit weaker. But you've still got Boo on the Odin, still has his ultimate to work with too.
That's the bigger thing. With the ult, he can delay a significant amount of time, but it also allows him space to fall back if needs be, and I think it might be. Like with Meteor's lockdown online, I wouldn't be surprised if they use it. In fact, no, they're going to send the Nightfall in instead. An immediate, aggressive push coming out from Texture. He might not be able to hear, but he's hoping the same's on the other side. The reveal is perfect coming out from Lakia, but even still, it's only going to be the one. But with the plant in, they're going to use the lockdown. This will buy them even more time.
Geng have a foothold. Karin falling below, but he's been spotted. The swing in from Rihen's not good for anything as Lakia lands another, and Meteor's there to back him up, recover the rifle as well, give them a fighting chance up against Benji. He failed in the 1 versus 2 last time. He was ran around the discipline of Geng, got it across the line, and we may just see the same again with Meteor swinging on the back and Munchkin on the front. Another round for Geng, the attacking side building up quite a lead. And let's not forget their defense was sublime last time they faced.
Yeah, I love the way that they combine ultimates together. Like, they basically force Heretics to rush their retake, and Benji's nowhere in sight. Like, they have to go, or they have to wait. And either way, they're going to be left with so little time left on the clock if they do, that they're forced into a more aggressive take. And when you have weaker weapons or even a piece or two missing, that's exactly what you want. You don't want to allow them that time to use the utility. Geng, it looks like they're going to battle for this position again. We've seen the same attempt at C's nades before, but not this time.
Wall dropped to see Texture attempt this fight onto Woot. The problem is the swing up close that could come in. Boo is just tucked, and Mini Boo's backing up the fight inside the door. The C's nade absolutely perfect, and Woot, he can't get himself out of there in time. Caught trying to take a fight and at least make his lost life worth it, but Texture, well, we talked about the round where he'd be activated, and it's 3 kills already under his belt. Perhaps it could be the ace, but Meteor's waiting to try and deny that. Benji Fishy facing the glowing gun. The spray is good. He's down to just 1. Plant in on the C site. At least I think so. There we go. And Karin has lots of teammates rotating.
I was about to say, Benji's not actually that far away, but yeah, it would have had to be a gamble.
He's 20 HP.
And that no one else was on that side. Instead, looking like it might just have to be a save. The economy for Heretics is in the bin. And after they finally get themselves back on the board once more, it seems like more of the same. And whatever aggressive take they've attempted, again, I have to give the credit to Lakia. The C's, I was wondering where he was going to place it, but just catches 2 players, forces them into a massively aggressive push, because otherwise they're dead to the nade. And it's just like, you're going to force players into an angle that Texture's holding, you're dead. You have to hit some crazy shots, and unfortunately this time it wasn't to be. But I just feel like his utility is nigh on perfect. Like, it really is hard to give too much criticism, and it's one of those things where you look at the depth of this team, not just in like raw firepower where we can talk about Meteor and Texture all day. Like, we could sit here for the next hour and just talk about how many kills those guys are going to get, but the supportive element of utility that comes alongside it, it just makes it so difficult for teams to actually have a fair fight versus those players.
Well, that's exactly it, Tom. You know, they are deadly weapons, and their teammates are very good at pointing them in the right direction, finding exactly where the targets are. The spotters to the snipers. 7-4. Geng with a big lead. An expected strong half coming up for them. And Team Heretics, they can't be feeling too great about their chances here. Showstopper activated and fired through just for the space. It's crowd control. Door opens. Mini Boo meets a bullet to the head from Meteor. But the trade is there. Keeping it alive with Benji Fishy catching the aggression from Texture. Geng don't have any advanced control. That's why Karin goes up inside the smoke. He's got himself a nasty angle, but he is isolated.
I like it trying to hold. Last time he attempted these spams, he got taken out. Karin may just have himself the battle here. The spacing, perfect. The Caesars caught them again. They can't move. They're all in that little back corner. And instead, just playing off angles. Karin with another, just dancing around his own utility, connecting every bullet. We haven't had to talk too much about his individual plays so far today because of the presence of other players, but when he's needed, That's exactly where he arrives. Boo, he doesn't even have the time to get anything done here. Eventually, Lackey is there, while both players will go down, but why would they care? That was the last round.
Man, Karen, the closer, this guy just keeps finding those essential kills. Sure, he's 8 and 9. Might not be the easiest one to hail. The scoreboard, Stevens, obviously, pretty much everyone looks at Meteor, but this whole team has so much depth. An unbelievable challenge ahead of Team Heretics. We'll find out how they fare in half number 2.
Oh, come on. Trade in any phone in any condition, guaranteed. And get $800 off the new Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Welcome back to half number 2 of Lotus. Team Heretics, 4 rounds on the board. Moving into a half where last time, I believe they got 3. Gen G seemed to have this one teed up for a 2-0, Tom. I mean, there's a lot that needs to happen on the Heretics side for them to come back into this, and I think the main thing is much like the dinosaurs, they need to dodge that meteor.
I think they have so many more problems than just him, but I do agree. It's not going to get any easier for them going into the second half, and a pistol is a must. They won the pistol in the last half, and other than that, in Valorant only managed to win a couple. The sheer force that Gen G are coming in with, and they're looking like a shoo-in for the playoffs already. Nobody surprised by that, but when this group was revealed, 2 of their previous finals being fought versus these foes, and I'll be honest, right now, they're making it look fairly easy. Munchkin, oh, it's almost identical to the last map. Just ready with a snake bite. Going to do some damage as they run in, but not anything too deadly just yet.
The plan secured for Team Heretics. Yeah, let's see if they can have back-to-back pistols. That injection of rounds could help them out. It's actually the only place they found success. The Masters Shanghai Finals. Rien's not able to land it to start with, and Gen G flooding the site. 3 quick kills leave Boo and Woot locked out in main. The defuse underway, the swing good to start with, and they think that could still be being defused. Got to take the fights. Although now both players have been spotted, both players have been tagged down low as well. Gen G on the back foot out of nowhere with Texture stepping up, and the headshot for Boo. Low HP on both. It's just a few bullets, and he'll go down to the nade in the end. But a Red Bull clutch nonetheless for the side of Heretics.
Was so close to him falling, and then I don't know if he would have had enough time to defuse it anyway, but just the fact that, again, that individual play coming out to save Heretics, get them a second pistol run, get them a lifeline, and a needed one at that. That first half ended in a fashion of very little to play with, but this is the guy that, when it came down to Shanghai, was an unbelievable performer. Put himself on the map. Bear in mind, when we started off this year, Woot wasn't even eligible to play. Like, he was too young to even be playing. But no doubt, him and the rest of this team have made a name for themselves. Come back here would prove once again why you can never doubt this young squad, but I think that it's been proven time and time again that Gen G, once they get into those Byrons, once they have the utility to play with, are fierce, and they've even put a little bit extra into this round. Obviously having the plant and the cleanup of players. I'm scared of that, Marshall. I'm kind of hoping for Heretics' sake they don't go that way.
Well, they did smoke him off to start the round, and now his turret's being destroyed as well. So limited opportunity so far for Meteor to land a shot, but now one is presenting itself. Benji's only got the ghost, so he's happy to take some risks. And honestly, looky, the Texture.
I don't think Texture was paying attention. I think he was like, okay, my teammate's got the cross. I could just have a mid-round nap.
Looking at the mini-map or something. Oh, the shot just about evaded by Benji Fishy, and he's on his way to the A site, which is now mostly open. Just one player, just a classic. They've not seen him to start with, and well, looky, he only gets the one. A better weapon there, and that could have been a disaster.
Lucky, of course, is invested into utility, but it seems like he's going to wait for teammates to round that corner. Still a couple of Sheriffs to play with this time. I think for the first time, the C's is actually going to go amiss for that defensive side, but it's already the read. The Sheriff finds one, gun picked up again. Even just making this costly could be huge, but they found a Guardian now. Time a ticking, and 2 for 1 for Munchkin. In fact, Lackey is there as well. Last time out, they at least got the conversion, but Gen G at the moment just cannot be stopped.
Gonna need that one slowed down a little bit, I believe.
Yeah, I slowed down a lot.
That's unbelievable.
Let's go.
For this man to come in like that, swinging wide, pistol in hand. Look at him go.
Oh, it's gotta be infuriating. He only just, I think Woot was crouched and he just stood up. He literally just stood up and got insta double collided. Well, it's a great time for Texture, but it's got to be heartbreaking for the side of Heretics. They're going to invest into a hero rifle on Benji. If any time for a hero to arise, now would be as good as it gets. At least bring back the mental, which has to be shattered at this stage.
Absolutely. Down in the dumps, you'd imagine, for Heretics. Nilzinho talked at halftime about coming back to form. Well, that is quite a journey for this squad now. Lakia manages to find himself the correction and has support from Texture. Blast Pack goes in. Too little too late. No, not too little too late. In fact, with the C's, it gets the job done, but Texture's out in the open, and some of those shots are a bit whiffy. A chance for Team Heretics to fight right back into things. Boo, he's gotten very close, and the swing definitely caught Meteor off guard, but he corrects in time, and the rotate that had come in off of that space now will meet a very well-defended C site. Still the turret watching the cross, although it will be smoked off. Now he'll have to play that contact himself.
I don't think he'll mind. It is Meteor after all. Just waits for the poison orb to go up and then can watch, even making sure that he doesn't overextend. Repositions completely. We'll get there in the end.
What was that you said about not overextending?
He got the job done. Doesn't even matter. Complete reposition. Took some time for a teammate as well. And although it's a little bit of extra damage, it's not going to do anything really to the other side because of them managing to win that second round. 10-5. Double the opponent's score. And a response. Even, I think, just for it to get to a point of confidence, so where you can actually feel like there's a possibility. I want to see Heretics get on this board a lot earlier. I don't think they necessarily have a similar mental strength to some of the other teams in this tournament to come back from a 12.
It's too much to ask from most teams. And, you know, often it's going to depend on your opponents making mistakes. And this is Gen G we're talking about here.
I think they've got their whiffs out in the last few rounds.
Exactly. Like Nilzinho said, they're going to punish you every time. Showstopper to try to punish back, and Texture is the one finding the kill. Benji Fishy down and out of the round. The lurk no longer there. Now they look just towards the site. A little whiffy for Meteor. A chance with Munchkin though on the backside, dodging the paranoia and landing a headshot. But 10 HP is enough for Woot to stay alive, to look for some headshot angles and to still participate. His smoke up the one-way already surpassed though. Lakia has dropped down below and he's got support up top. But up goes Woot. The 10 health man still getting the damage done. They're both quite low. And a man like Texture keen to convert. The first shots don't land, but nor to the last. It's Rien's taking it across the line in an essential round for Team Heretics.
Yeah, you've got to bring up Woot. Like, just the fact that he jumps up above, it's a little bit manic. It's very chaotic, but the job is done. They at least get another onto the board. Well, the fact that he's able to isolate Meteor, someone who's been such a threat, gets dinked up and then just going up behind the opponent, even being traded out at the end. It's something. It's a lifeline. It's then back onto the board, but there's still a part of me that's even more terrified about what's coming up for Geng, because somehow, at least in the last map where things got a little bit tight, these were the rounds that ended up getting away from them. He predicts where the TP's going as well.
Well, they had to do it themselves enough in that first half, so
Yeah.
I think they're familiar with the flow.
Where
of
would
that.
you go, Karen? Oh, yeah, cool.
I'll go hold it. Geng, advantage in a round like this, smokes up as well, trying to steal back that weapon. It's not for free though. If anything, that smoke gives them the advantage on the side of Heretics in holding it down, but it does mean Boo stays close. Look down at Karen, no paranoia anymore. Won't be able to fight for that all too convincingly.
I wonder if Heretics used a lockdown here. You got a couple of other ultimates that are getting very close, just to try and make sure that you have the sight without too many risks. They've done a lot of damage to Meteor, but obviously that damage is unconfirmed. And I think now, yeah, especially after spotting the rifle on Texture, force him out of position. Meteor's going to try and play the time. Sit in this corner until the very last second, until he has time to strike. He was low, probably would have gone down anyway. But that's going to even things back up, and well, Texture had to wait.
30 seconds left.
Nade is decent. Texture was going down one way or another. Nice shot by Munchkin. Another low HP challenger steps up in the full health. Now down to a sliver, even without the Nightfall. A chance for Geng until that Viper's Pit goes up. Now this is going to be very tough, but Rian's for now just on 1 HP. The swing around from Lakia, trying to catch this player. The spray is good. Karen finds him. And now both players back on main, facing off against rifles. Karen getting most of his health back, and then in goes the C's. Make sure that he's not quite so healthy. The spams have to come through. And Lakia suspects that one player will push up close, but it's only to land the nano. And it is activated in time. The defuse denied a little bit longer. Now they have to force the issue and take the fight. They know exactly where Boo is. He has to hold on for survival, and a wall bang headshot. That's what pulls it across the line. Heretics were under pressure, but the reaction is perfect for the Red Bull clutch from Boo.
Another high impact kill from him, just waiting until the depths. His C slowed them down as well, and I was incredibly worried, especially with the pit from Rians. You're that low on HP, like to be able to maneuver around on that site, it was just such a risk to try and get that into play, to use it in a round like this, but it allowed the teammates to fall back, and while Boo, a maestro of his positioning, a perfectly placed haunt just to give him that kill, and while he only really got one shot to hit that, and he finds it.
It's how annoying Boo was in the early round as well. That rifle that was dropped was defended tooth and nail. This time Geng are getting very aggressive very early on. Team Heretics even using a shrouded step to get out of there. Woot was feeling the heat. His full control over Mound was taken by that defensive side. Now they start the rotation. The one-ways will be continuously put up by Karen to keep that position, while the rest of the squad looks to reinforce the A site. You can see that Texture's almost in position. Heretics may just play into their waiting arms.
Okay, Benji. Expects Lakia to be holding the angle. Of course, he did push it just moments ago. Operator going to be juggled away so that you can have that entry taken and the utility to force back. And players is as good as it gets. Not going to be able to fight this one, but either way, probably going to wait to try and work this as a retake. Meteor is also just 1 kill away from a lockdown, so anything he can find just by spams or pre-fires could give them a way in.
Smoke off. Rian's just going to have to play through that, but, well, there might not be much left for him to do. It's being cleaned up on the site, and nice and easy. At least that's how they make it look. 10-8. The gap down to 2 already. A better second half than what we saw from the last time these two teams faced. The attack side of Heretics seems to have some legs to it now.
Yeah, no, they're looking good. Like, their initial execution, they knew that Lakia had pushed already because he went and destroyed the turret, so they were very methodical with that initial fight, and then just the utility they had in from afar with the paranoia C's, making sure that nobody could peek him from that heaven angle and cause them any issues. Then it's just those post plants, and that's where you do have high expectations, especially when you have the man advantage. You have everybody on the team at least performing to a decent level. And because of that, Geng are going to take themselves a pause. Now, the expectation will be that it's not going to be this round that will end up being the one that this pause is for, as they're only going to have pistols, their economy definitely in a worse position. but they do have so much in terms of their ultimates. So having the Viper's Pit available, lockdown if they need it, one away from a showstopper, there's still potential in a lot of these rounds. And as we've mentioned already, Genji have been able to do so much with so little. The Heretics do need to make sure that they're very careful in these sort of rounds.
Well, I look towards someone like Meteor, Tom. It's been a couple of rounds since he's popped off. We've seen him slow down. And one of the main things, it's not the fact that he's not getting kills. It's when I look at the player cam when he's getting shut down, you can see it's starting to affect him. He's starting to get in his head a little bit, perhaps, and you want to see him light back up that scoreboard. This might not be the round for it, though. Lots of light weapons for the side of Genji, pistols and a stinger, all that they're working with. After that pause, we'll see what their ideas are. Pushing up on Mound hasn't been easy. Taking the control has, but going any further, Boo seems to be there until the last couple seconds.
Yeah, last minute purchase. I think maybe an attempt? I was going to say it's some wallbangs, but it doesn't seem like it. As Munchkin's firing elsewhere, it's going to leave him with problems on the economy again. Okay. It happens again. Wu caught trying to teleport back. A similar scenario to what we've seen before. The spams are going to do so much, but the headshot back through the wall. It just seems like the second these rounds get into weak economy, Genji just find miracles.
They have a two-man advantage. And both players, one behind a Viper wall, the other behind a real wall. Nice shot by Mini Boo. And the dodge of the rocket as well. The life traded out for a bit of damage with him on 50 HP, but he has a showstopper of his own. Genji still have one towards this C site. Meteor now knows there's contact close. The shot not gonna land. Just with the Sheriff. Has to be precise on these peaks, and it's Rian's to shut him down. C site control now there for Heretics.
Yeah, it's patience that ends up getting that kill. An advantage given up, but with the weaponry in play, you can understand the risks. It's whether or not there's anything more to find. Lackey has been able to retrieve an Odin, but with low HP, it's not really the weapon of choice. And in fact, Showstopper going to be utilized, but it's more just to try and hold them back. The Snakebite has delayed at least a little bit more, and it gives more time for this Odin to wrap around. It's complete oversight from Miniboo, not paying attention, not ready for the players behind. Luckily, Benji has found another. Still decent weaponry now in play. With only pistols starting off this round, there's real potential for them to turn this back. Munchkin, his gun was never spotted, but he can't quite land the final shot. Benji will be the last line of defense, and he will keep them now just one away.
Oh, a big round from Benji indeed. That triple kill. Denying the retake coming in from defender spawn, denying what was beautiful timing by Munchkin as well. He really waited in that corner right until the second that they turned away. They were watching it the whole time. He steps out, he dies. Instead, grabs himself a kill, but it's not quite enough. And the Odin flank from Lakia, not bad. I would take my hat off to it. But the lead still sits with Genji. One round ahead as Team Heretics look again towards Mound for the early control, and that smoke seems to be getting them everything they could possibly want.
Again, this is where the majority of ults sit with Genji. Even though Heretics are bringing this close, they might be able to use that just to springboard themselves back into the game. We saw them close out the previous map in close fashion. I know that they can seemingly turn it back on whenever they need it. For now, Heretics going to play things incredibly slow. They've got the Nightfall, so they can go for these sort of late round hits if need be.
Well, it looks like they're going to compete for rubble. Karen's going to have his work cut out for him. Has a Shrouded Step and an ult to get out of here if needed. Up goes the wall to start. No one following up on the back of it. Viper's Pit used towards the C site. They are. Defend it. Good spam. It's doing some damage as Karen's at least able to find himself a way out with the Shrouded Step, but there's no pressure from Heretics. They're moving in the other direction. They're moving into the pit. This is a big risk.
They use the Nightfall as well. They also don't have Prowlers, so this really is a gamble to try and force this man out. Lockdown's been put into play as well. They know that they're going to have to go in this direction now. The ultimate usage is absolutely perfect, and then they even have themselves the Snakebite to slow them even further. This couldn't have been played any better by Genji if they tried. And now with 10 seconds left, Miniboo is going to have to fight tooth and nail. Needs to get this plant, tries to bait in his opponent, wins the fight, but I don't think he's got it. I don't think that's going to be close enough. It's going to run out at the last second. A nice attempt by the duelist, but that round was played amazingly by Genji.
It absolutely was. There is a split second where you see Munchkin thinking about going back into the pit, and that's when Meteor comes running in and says, no, 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 I'll take the fight. And they're just being decayed and sprayed, easy as can be.
Well, he put a snake bite in there as well, so they were vulnerable. Like every single combination, it was either you try and run back, and you're going to end up going into the lockdown, so you can't go that way. You run forward, you're running into 2 players. Like it is just, they have basically herded them like sheep. They have sent them to their death. They have been culled. It was just wonderful usage of the ultimates, but they did use a lot.
They did. But even in the early round, before that, when the Nightfall goes through, Lakia, 10 seconds before it started to rotate, and I don't know if it was his call or the call from the team, but he ran back up, he kept spamming, he kept harassing them with the damage, the one-way went. I think they were either going to give up control of Rubble or have Karen stand there solo, and then they realized, no, if we can stall them slightly, maybe they go back the other direction. And if not, we Shrouded step across, play at the broken door, and play the retake. Really beautiful round from Gen G. They've had a number of ones like that where you can just see the calling, the mid-rounding is leagues ahead. 2-round gap now with 2 more for Gen G to lock in playoffs.
It's got to be frustrating as well. Like Miniboo being able to find those 2 kills right towards the end, almost managed to play spoiler for what was a great round. Just, I think, unable to quite plant within the last second. I think even just a tiny bit of hesitation, which
it seemed like
sometimes that's all it takes. It's brutal to talk about, but I think he was genuinely like maybe half a second away from getting that plant down.
It was very close, and it felt, again, I won't say this with confidence, but it definitely looked to me like he had time to plant after the kill, but it's just the reactions, even finding the button that quickly. It ends up costing in the end. The judge up close. This is a risky play from Munchkin, and one that will not meet a reward this time. Advantage to the attackers.
That's a huge early pick. That's already going to force issues for the rest of the team, because you have your plan with Deep B control in mind. It's a risky TP. I guess didn't spot that Rihan's had already crossed. A few mistakes now being made, and Heretics are going to capitalize on them. What a way to start off this round. Easy early picks. Meteor rotating in. He's going to be the only player anywhere near. Boombot's not going to give his position away. In fact, he's going to play on the edge, just going to try and take a huge gamble, and while Boo is waiting, ready for any such play.
This was a massive round for Team Heretics to win as well. If they lose this one, you can see from the credits, you've got a couple of players who were quite low, and then the kills also even boosted them up slightly. Without that, they would be in trouble. Gen G would be 12-9, 3 chances to close it, 2 big buy rounds, and most importantly, in the next one, Heretics wouldn't have enough money to confidently buy on every player. Instead, it's 11, presumably to 10, as Texture's going to double blast pack, kill a bunch of people, and defuse in the next couple seconds. So, Gen G find themselves in the tough spot. Take a look at their credits. They're not sitting pretty at all. The Team Heretics are getting close to a couple of ultimates. Showstopper now just 1 away after Miniboo's round. This may well tip the scales, if not back in Heretics' favor, to even territory.
It seems like they're definitely getting further and further back into this one, even with a blip here and there. The problem is, just like this in the last map, it looked like they were going to climb all the way, turn this game into a victory, and then just Gen G, it's almost like they realize it gets close, and then they have something to play around. This time, yeah, it's a similar spot. Financially, it's not looking good. Gen G shouldn't be winning this round, but that's where it seems like Heretics make their mistake. That's where it seems like they trip up and give someone on the other side an opportunity. And, well, let's be real here. We're looking at that rifle on Texture and whether or not he can get something done here for them.
Turret out.
Yeah, you can't really put any pressure on other players. That said, the pistols have done a lot of damage in some of the previous rounds. Very, very slow approach from the attacking side towards C and B, but that's just 1 man left behind to cover that ground. Now, all they wanted was rubble control in the early round, and they found it pretty much uncontested. The rifle on Mound won't get a chance to strike. In fact, it looks like it's going to be Karen and Lakia, a Sheriff and a Classic, that have to hold strong.
I'd have to hope that this shouldn't be too much of an issue. for the side of Heretics.
You should run.
Utility being expended. In fact, they're even going to use the lockdown here, and Woot is just waiting. Ooh, paranoia in hand. That's just going to headshot Munchkin straight through. They're expecting someone to be on that other side. The rest of the defense have been completely forced off. I like the fact that Heretics are playing this one incredibly safe. Don't want to give their opponents any sneaky corners, any risky spots that could cause them issues. And now in the post plant, this is going to become a lot tougher.
Yeah, looks like most of the bodies are going to go with the rifle. Woot's up top now, ready to fire back. And the spams in return give away the fact that there's a rifle on the other side. They'll give that some respect. Woot might not. Benji Fishy grabbing himself the kill on mid. Now it's just one angle, or was just one, being held down for Texture. Wants to light up a few players. He won't find a damn thing. In fact, with that kill, Miniboo's got himself a showstopper online for the next. In what is a very important round, someone is going to be pushing up to 12 and have map point under their belt. The ultimates may indicate Team Heretics. We'll see if Miniboo can find the impact.
Well, that's the thing. 6 of the last 7 rounds have gone the way of Heretics now. I think for the most part, after that first half, we have sort of been waiting for the moment that Gen G turn it. Round 20 looked like it might be, but no, it seems like Heretics are locking things down at the moment. We're even going to see the Outlaw brought up as an extra purchase and attempt to do some damage on that attack side. And for the defense, well, we've seen them go aggressive B a couple of times. This time they're going to double up. This is a trap setup in case they go towards Mountain. This is a scary prospect.
This is what Gen G need. Something like this big play. The trap, though, has been escaped. Heretics just about make it out in time.
Woot's TV behind?
The rotation from Woot, yeah, he's behind, but he's expected as well. Karen's watching it. It'll be a stalemate for now, but with the players coming up mound, the crunch is on. And Karen's the one with the pressure. Showstoppers found him, and it's lit him to 4 HP, the lone defender of the C site. And with the orb down, they're not going to be decayed walking through. Karen needs to be sublime, and only the one to be found. It's worth it, trading out his low health. In goes the Nightfall. Meteor and Lakia up close. They're ready to swing out, the timing perfect, but then they look the other way. Woot rounds the corner and takes a kill. Double face that lands a Munchkin 1v3 for the chances to keep this 12th round out of Heretics' hands. And I'm not even thinking that he's going for it at this stage. He's so far away and all alone against 3. Still a Viper's pit for Heretics, though, and that's a scary prospect for a 12-11 scoreline.
Well, yeah, this is now where you have to think, okay, the Heretics, they're great in OTs. They're looking to try and close out the map in the similar fashion to the last with a comeback. And I think many looked at this map as a pretty much a death sentence for them. But even still, they have shown impressive stones just to almost like keep themselves from getting mentally boomed, even with rounds that slip away. With what, 4 seconds or just about to plant that not goes their way, but this time, even with some aggressive plays, even with some confident moves coming out from Gen G with a decent trap setup, they're able to escape it and immediately react. And I love the TP coming out of Woot. You can see it immediately put the opposition in doubt of where he could have gone, where he was positioned, and that just made that round so much more difficult.
Yeah, otherwise the 3 players on B probably go sprinting through the spawn, and they'll be there to support Karen, or at least to trade him out afterwards. Instead, they have to be so cautious about just how deep he could be. 12 rounds for Team Heretics. They struggled on the last map, always on the heels of Gen G, but not able to take the lead out of their hands. And now, well, the shoe's on the other foot. Heretics just one away from guaranteeing themselves a bind and what could be a very competitive close to this series, to this rematch. Not a bit of deja vu from the 1-0 for Gen G and the fight back from Heretics.
Yeah, they've won 7 of the last 8. And then the one that was won by Gen G used a lot of ultimates to put them into that position. Right now, they have nothing online. A couple away for Meteor, who had an incredible start to this map. He's still doing well, but has definitely stopped having those high-impact rounds that we've seen from him. And the wait will be to see if this is the moment where somebody on the Gen G side steps up to the plate. If they have another plan, because that's it, the prior round they had a decent idea, just didn't manage to capitalize off of it when it was put into play. And you can see the credits are just ludicrous. Look, there are 3 operators currently waiting. They're spending all of their extra credits just to try and catch an early pick.
That is a pretty nasty idea sees nade, but that gets Karen into position. The spams do go the way of Gen G here. Those tracers being followed up on. And for Heretics, an immediate stoppage to the play. One of those ops has already been traded out, and I think soon we'll see the same thing happen. But the idea here again is they're making noise on A, they're spamming away, and hopefully on B or C, someone gets curious. But as we can see, that ain't happening. Gen G have lost a lot of HP on Lackey though, thanks to the Ode.
Yeah, both Fade players getting tagged, and there is
Back
the
out.
kill. That's the exact kill they were looking for. They're going to have a decent idea as well that Karen is going to be playing this aggressive ground. Snakebite. Not going to be forcing him off this angle. The Paranoia, however, will. They're already looking to try and just execute onto him, and he'll survive longer than maybe expected. But even still, the kills have gone the way of Heretics. 2 stand in their way from an impressive comeback on a map that was heavily favored to the reigning Masters champions. Looking to try and take this to a third, but there's still a couple to deal with.
Meteor's had a lot of big rounds, and Munchkin, when he needs to, he can step up to the plate, and he certainly does need to this time.
Spike
2
planted.
players just around the corner, and he misses them by a hair. Wrapping back around, they're ready and swinging straight into him. Meteor has the info on the first and knows where the other 2 are. The swing is good. He spotted them and heard the shrouded step, heard the second 2. They've split the angle, perhaps offered Meteor a chance to isolate the fight, and he connects the shot. Lockdown now in play, and it's Benji Fishy needing the clutch to keep the dream alive. And Heretics, they've got themselves a third map here. An impressive comeback into Lotus. They've taken Gen G down, something they couldn't do on Shanghai on this map. And now Bind will be the final battleground.
Yeah, it's going to have to be an impressive comeback from that position they were in. It looked like they were down and out. But somehow, this team once again has dug deep. We head to Bind to decide who makes it to playoffs.